Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. The story begins with the arrival of a mysterious prisoner at a Russian penitentiary. His cellmate is puzzled when he says he will only stay a few days since everyone there is serving life sentences, but he insists he is just passing through. Later, two bullies attempt to intimidate him and discover it won't be that easy. Because of the ruckus, he ends up being taken to Semyon Korny, the mobster who leads the gang. The young man says his name is Craven and that he is a hunter of wrongdoers. Semyon is a bit unsettled by this and tells him the famous hunter is just a legend. But then, Craven proves that this is not true and defeats all the henchmen by himself. With a tooth he pulled from a stuffed tiger, he finishes the act with Semyon himself. When the guard arrives, Craven also attacks him and begins to climb the prison wall. Incredibly agile, he is able to easily tear off the iron bars and then leap off the roof without getting hurt. His cellmate is very proud of the escape, and the guards can't hit him with a single shot. Craven jumps the prison wall and runs into the blizzard, where an aircraft is already waiting. While he removes his fake tattoo, the guards find the body with the real one and discover that the fugitive had deliberately infiltrated, taking the place of that prisoner. Then we go back in time 16 years to New York City. Brothers Sergei and Dmitry Krabanov are still mourning their mother when their father unexpectedly shows up to pick them up from school. Nikolai is an infamous criminal who treats his sons in a cold and cruel manner. Saying that their mother took her own life for being too weak, he warns that there will be no funeral. The car then stops at a hangar, and Nikolai reveals they are going to hunt lions so the boys can learn to become real men. Meanwhile, in Tanzania, young Calypso is learning to read tarot cards. Her grandmother predicts that the girl will witness an accident soon and gives her a secret potion with incredible healing powers. Nearby, Nikolai is teaching Sergei that animals should fear him because man is the greatest predator. He is disappointed with Dmitry's weakness and yells at him in front of everyone. At night, the boys talk about their father's blatant favoritism, and we learn that Dmitry is not a legitimate son like Sergei. Outside, the subject is the legendary Lion Tsar, responsible for many deaths in the area, and who is now Nikolai's main target. The next day, a businessman named Alexei approaches him during the hunt with a proposal for partnership. Marking his fragile health, Nikolai humiliates him and says that a weak man like him has nothing to offer the Kravanovs. Sergei and Dmitry make little effort to keep pace with the group, as they just want the trip to end. It is then that the famous lion appears right in front of them, and Sergei seems to feel some sort of connection with the beast. The trance is interrupted by Nikolai's gunshot, inciting the lion's fury without bringing it down. Tsar charges and bites Sergei's backpack, dragging the boy away while his father continues to shoot. At the same time, Calypso's parents are photographing giraffes when they realize the girl is straight from them, drawn by a low roar. She sees the lion drop Sergei, who is gravely injured and appears to have been hit by some of the shots. A drop of the feline's blood lands on one of the boy's wounds before the lion leaves. When Calypso gives Sergei a few sips of the potion, he remains unconscious, but we see that something supernatural is happening inside him. His mind fills with images of wildlife as a female voice recites a spell, invoking the power of nature. Calypso leaves the tarot card with him when the rescue team comes to take him, and Sergei is taken to the hospital. The doctors declare him dead, but he opens his eyes afterward, in a miraculous recovery. Nikolai takes his sons to his mansion in England, where Sergei finds a letter from their mother. She apologizes for her actions and pleads with him never to become like his father. Just after that, Nikolai announces that Dmitry will return alone to school in New York City. Sergei will stay with him to learn to follow in his footsteps in the world of crime. Then Nikolai shows him the lion's head on the wall as a trophy. Outraged, Sergei locks himself in his room and decides to escape in the middle of the night. During his escape, he slips and falls from the second floor, but his new reflexes help him land safely. When Dmitry appears, he begs his brother not to leave him behind. Despite lamenting their separation, Sergei says he must go, as he is experiencing something inexplicable. Traveling clandestinely by ship, Sergei arrives in eastern Russia. His senses remain incredibly heightened, and his special connection with animals saves him from being trampled by a stampede. Finally, he reaches the spot where he used to camp with his mother and begins to test his new limits. He discovers that he can now run, jump, and climb as if he had acquired the abilities of various different animals. After chasing a deer through the forest, Sergei lets the animal escape but hears a gunshot right after. From atop a tree, he sees two hunters and runs over, finding several dead animals. The hunters are armed and order him to get out, but Sergei picks up a knife from the ground, and now that's enough for him. Hitting the first one square in the forehead, he finishes the job with his fists and uses the opportunity to unleash all his rage. Despite his victory, he soon sees another vehicle passing with armed men and realizes his work is just beginning. Over the years, Sergei becomes the legendary hunter of villains and changes his name to Kraven, but he continues to carry the tarot card with him and still lives isolated in Russia. His next target is Andrei, who is trying to smuggle animal horns and laughs when the young man blocks his path. Andrei notes that there are 6 against 1, but Kraven says that number is about to change. As the vehicle moves forward, he goes underneath, climbs onto the back, and eliminates the 4 occupants in a matter of seconds. Andrei flees in the other car with the only henchman left, but that doesn't stop Kraven from seeing the license plate. Arriving in London, Andrei goes to explain the incident to his boss and lies that everything is resolved, claiming he took care of the vigilante himself. It is then that he discovers that the boss is dead, and sitting in his chair is Kraven. He scratches Andrei's name off his list after nailing him to the wall with his colleague. Calypso is also in London, where she works as a lawyer. She has just lost a colleague, a victim of one of the recent attacks led by Semyon Korny. After the funeral, Kraven approaches her and shows her the card she gave him. He tells her that her friend has been avenged since Semyon is dead and also confesses to being the infamous vigilante known as the Hunter. Calypso is conflicted by this revelation, as her methods of achieving justice are quite different. Additionally, she knows who Kraven's father is and fears that he may be the same. He explains that he rejected that life from the day they met and only keeps in touch with his brother, who also lives in London. Showing her his list of wrongdoers, he tells her that the prosecutor's work will never be as effective as his methods and proposes a partnership. Calypso's task would be to help locate some of those people, and she promises to think about it. Meanwhile, Alexei is talking about the Hunter with his advisor, Brent. The businessman does not believe much in the rumors and thinks that, even if this vigilante exists, he can be neutralized like any other. Brent arranges a meeting with Semyon Korny's mafia managers, and Alexei informs them that he is taking over the business of the deceased. The 3 react derisively, and one shoots the businessman several times, but he gets up unscathed and starts to take off his shirt. Only now do they understand why Alexei is nicknamed Rhino. Using a special substance, he has the power to transform into something animalistic, but he decides to interrupt the process upon seeing that the criminals are scared enough. The only one who still tries to draw his weapon is shot by a sniper, and then Alexei asks which of the 2 remaining will be his partner. One of them immediately shoots the other, simplifying the selection process. His first job is an ambush for Nikolai at Dimitri's restaurant, where he is showcasing his talent for impersonating famous singers. However, Nikolai realizes the trap and uses the man as a shield just in time to escape the gunfire, while Dimitri hides. Brent informs Alexei that the attack failed and they haven't gotten rid of the rival mafia yet, but not all news is bad. Thanks to an anonymous ally, Brent obtained a file identifying the Hunter as Sergei Kravenov. Then, Alexei decides to contact a man known as the Outsider, who has been searching for the Hunter for years. He goes to the Russian prison to investigate, and we see that he also possesses special powers when a guard appears. After hypnotizing him, the Outsider takes his weapon and uses it to finish him off. On Dimitri's birthday, Kraven is forced to tolerate his father's company during dinner. After the celebration, Dimitri tells his brother that he forgives him for leaving that night. Unable to sleep on the couch, Kraven feels more comfortable on the grass. When he returns to the penthouse in the morning, he discovers that Dimitri has just been kidnapped. Seeing the kidnappers through the window, he leaps from the top floor and runs after their car. The driver tries to lose him, but he manages to jump onto the car and even starts to rip off one of the doors, only to be run over. Kraven recovers just in time to see the kidnappers switch transportation and is able to lasso the helicopter as soon as it takes off. One of the criminals starts shooting and is struck by a spear. Kraven hangs from the helicopter until he crashes into something that knocks him off. Still soaked, he heads straight to Calypso's office, horrifying secretaries and security guards. He tells her what happened and asks for her help in locating the kidnappers. All he knows is that one of them is Turkish and has a scar on his face. Calypso passes this description to her contacts and promises to identify the culprits. Nikolai tells Craven that he received a box with a finger. The thugs want 20 million in 48 hours. Recognizing his brother's ring, Craven demands that his father give the money, knowing that it's not much for him. Nikolai refuses to pay because he doesn't want to show weakness. Furthermore, he thinks Dmitri is already dead because that's what he would have done in the place of the ones who took him. However, we see that this is not true, and Dmitri is in captivity, irritating the Turk with a perfect imitation of his voice. In London, Calypso discovers that the kidnapper is named Omar Ostamir and that his hideout is a monastery in Ankara. But as she walks away, we see that her informant is working for the outsider. After getting rid of the witness right there, he tells Alexei that the plan is underway. While Calypso passes the coordinates to Craven, Alexei warns Omar that the hunter is coming. In Turkey, Craven enters the monastery, taking down the guards one by one until the last one lets out a scream. This alerts Omar and his men, who are already expecting the visit. Still, the fight is not easy, and Craven grabs Omar shortly after, threatening to throw him out the window if he doesn't tell him where his brother is. When the Turk calls him by name, he realizes it was all a setup as he sees the snipers on the mountain. He jumps with the enemy before the bullet can hit him, demolishing that part of the building. Seeing that the rubble will bury them both, Omar tells Craven that the one responsible for this is the Rhino. When the police arrive at the monastery, the outsider is already conducting his own investigation and does not let anyone disturb him. Meanwhile, Alexei is having a conversation with Dmitri. He tells him that their father did not want to pay to see him again and proves that his brother is hiding his true profession from him. As soon as Craven emerges from the debris, he tells Calypso about the trap and says she is in danger. She sees 5 men entering the building at that very moment, and Craven says he will send someone to get her at a meeting point. Alexei shows Dmitri the secret of his strength and says he got the substance from an American biochemist. Despite the advantages, the transformation is very painful, and once again he interrupts the process early. He then reveals his plans to take over Nikolai's empire and offers Dmitri the same partnership his father rejected, saying he has also been underestimated his entire life. Dmitri admits that this is true but refuses to betray his own family. Before Alexei can respond with a shot, Brent warns that Craven survived, which means Dmitri could still be useful as bait. When the elevator begins to ding, Alexei prepares to face the fearsome hunter. Then everyone is disappointed to see that it is the outsider. Craven's pilot takes Calypso to him in Russia. She says that her contacts have mysteriously disappeared, and the case is becoming more and more dangerous. When he suddenly stops and says he is being hunted, she expects criminals to emerge from the bushes with machine guns. But this time, the hunt is literal, and what leaps at Craven is a huge jaguar. Calypso is shocked to see him fight with the feline as if they were cousins playing until the beast tires and wanders off. Meanwhile, the outsider tells Alexei that his mentor was a distinguished assassin, and his formidable career only came to an end because he was on Craven's list. That is why he continues to pursue him around the world, but capturing such a perfect predator is nearly impossible. Only now does he have a real chance to do so, as Craven's only weakness is his brother. Furthermore, the poison darts the outsider found at the monastery are made with peas that only grow in a specific region of Russia, thus revealing the location of the hunter's hideout. At the same time, Calypso and Craven are also discussing poisons and potions. He wants to know what was in that vial that changed his life, but she says she doesn't know, and her grandmother died before she could give her more of it. Calypso says she will continue to help save Dmitri, but she still has doubts about Craven's lifestyle and its spiritual consequences. Craven jokes that karma won't catch him because he'll be faster. Little does he know that enemies are already on the way. The outsider shows Alexei a dart launcher that injects poison into the victim, causing awful terrors before paralyzing their body. Then, Alexei forces Dmitri to call the number that only he has for his brother. When Craven answers, Alexei also offers him a mafia partnership and becomes a little irritated to see that the other has already hung up. Soon after, several vehicles arrive at Craven's hideout, and Alexei's army spreads out to hunt him down. Taken by surprise by the jaguar, the criminals only realize that Dmitri has escaped when he is already far away. In addition to the animals, that area is full of traps and secrets that only Kraven knows. He takes advantage of this and starts attacking the henchmen as they venture deeper into the forest. Hearing his men's screams, Alexei laments their amateurishness and orders Brent to initiate the airstrike. Kraven dodges the explosions as flames spread through the forest until something pierces his skin and fills his mind with gruesome visions. This is the effect of the outsider's weapon, who is standing just a few meters away. Kraven tries to attack him, but he uses his powers again and hits him 2 more times. Kraven feels the poison paralyzing his body, and the outsider takes advantage to cowardly beat him down. His associates arrive as he is about to pull the trigger. He warns that the hunter has been defeated, but orders them to find Dmitri as well. As soon as they leave, the outsider begins counting to 3 to savor his revenge. But when he reaches 2, Calypso shoots an arrow into his left eye. She gives Kraven the rest of the potion, which she had been hiding from him, while Dmitri is captured. Brent takes him to Alexei and says that Kraven is dead. During the return trip, the convoy is attacked by a herd of buffalo. Knowing that this must be his brother's doing, Dmitri smiles and tightens his belt. The cars begin to overturn, and Kraven resurfaces just as Alexei finishes his metamorphosis, taking on his rhino form. The two face off, and Kraven shoves the rhino into the road, where a vehicle is coming toward them. He holds the car with his horn and lifts it into the air before bringing it crashing down, flipping several times. The clash continues, and Kraven realizes that when he attacks with blades, nothing penetrates the enemy's thick skin. He tries to use his great strength, but Alexei's massive metamorphic body is a tough challenge. Therefore, he decides to wound him with words and states that his father was right. Alexei has always been and always will be a nobody. The rage distracts the monster for a moment, and Kraven strikes at his weak point, which is where he injects the substance. This weakens him enough to restore the advantage to Kraven, who ties a rope around him and lassos a buffalo with the other end. With a sudden pull, the rhino is dragged, trampled by the herd, and then left on the ground. Kraven asks him who revealed his identity, and he just says that a predator like him should see what is right in front of him. When Dmitri approaches with a gun, Kraven does not allow him to become a killer like himself. The rhino ends up dying with no one intervening, using his last words to say he wished he had never known this family. Reflecting on everything he said, Kraven seeks out his father and asks him to tell him the whole truth. Nikolai always knew he was the hunter and even took pride in it. Even while hunting people like his father, Kraven is an invincible predator, and that is all Nikolai dreamed of for him. When the rhino began to threaten his business, he handed over the files revealing the identity of the hunter, knowing that his son would defeat his enemy. Kraven says he risked Dmitri's life, but his father retorts that he trusted his skills to save his brother. Nikolai hopes that this will bring the family together and that Kraven will finally see his role as the heir. Instead, he turns his back and walks away, throwing away the ammunition he took from his father's gun without him noticing. When a bear begins to approach, Nikolai has no way to defend himself. A year later, Kraven goes to Dmitri's restaurant to celebrate his birthday again. His brother says he has recovered from the trauma and even feels like he was born again. He met an American biochemist who practically transformed him. Kraven recognizes some of their father's clients when they arrive to speak with Dmitri and realizes that his brother has decided to continue with the family's business. In front of his indignation, Dmitri calls him a hypocrite and says that he is just like Nikolai, as both only care about hunting their trophies. Kraven follows him out into the street and is horrified to see him change his appearance, suddenly wearing a face that looks just like his own. Dmitri has already learned to imitate anyone's voice, and now nothing prevents him from passing himself off as others. With Alexei and Nikolai out of the picture, this is all he needs to become the king of crime, finally becoming the strongest of the brothers. Heartbroken, Kraven goes home and finds a gift from his father. It's a coat made of animal fur and a letter in which Nikolai encourages him to continue the hunt.